welcome back to part 3. If you haven't watched the first 2, you probably want to do that beforehand. If you are new here, welcome. If you're back, you're a sucker for punishment. Previously we've spoken about what is a zine, why would you want to create a zine, and we've also started to talk about design and the design ethos. In this one, we'll talk about selecting images within your catalogue, and engaging layout, and then how to recreate that in Scribus. So what we'll do is I will swivel like this and we will go onto the desktop. And once we're there, we'll talk through some of the programs and so forth, and we'll go from there. Right, let's crack on. So let's talk about how you gather images. Now, I've already done in my Lightroom, I have a whole load of collections. You can see the one I used here for Copenhagen, and we can go through and we can kind of look at images that I might want to use. So I do quite like this image, but it never really worked. Likewise, I quite like that image, but it never kind of really worked. The one that I did use was this, which is in the Design Museum, but you can kind of see that you can start to pick out different things. So we'll do a test one, and we'll base it on what I did recently, which was a street walk with Gary Norman in London, and we've got 23 images. So let's say I took 100 images, I've gone through, I've processed them, and then I can very easily see what I've got, and we can start to choose how we want to do it. Well, the first thing we want to do is we want to export all of these as JPEGs. So Command A, I'm on a Mac by the way, so to select them all, export, and then I have some presets that I use, but I'm just going to do it full size. So let's choose that. Bang. Good. So that'll export the 23 folder files, and then we've got our material that we can use. So how are we going to present this? Because we've got a mix of colour and black and white, and we've got quite a lot of landscape orientation. So we might need to think about how we present this in Scribus, because I think something like this image, for instance, when it appears, will need to be on obviously a landscape style page. But we'll leave this running, and then I'll come back and we can talk about how we bring this all together. Right, so first things first, the next step is to start the mechanics of it, the bread and butter, the whatever you want to call it. So we need to open up Scribus. So this is what you get. So we're going to do a new document. I think we're going to go, he says, I think we're going to go 210 wide. Actually, I'll tell you what we'll do. If I can find my mouse. There we go. We're going to go to landscape. We're going to do width of 210 millimeters, and I'm going to do 140 millimeter height. Okay. So we've got our layouts, our bleeds. We're going to put in at, I'm going to put 3 millimeters all the way around. So this is where we need to be careful that the edges are going to get cut by the printers. So let's just mark them so we know. And we'll go for, let's go for 8 pages. Here we go. So it's opened up. We can see it. So we've got our margins, our bleed area. I want to insert an image. Now, if I go full screen, it's quite easy. You press I. If you want to do text, you do T. If you want to do a shape, like a square, it's just that. It's very simple. You can insert extra pages, you can move the pages around, you can have a master page, and that just means a style. So you develop your master, so maybe you want to have a specific colour on the background, that's what you do, and then you apply it to all the pages, even pages only, odd pages, so you can play around. But we're going to do something quite simple. We're just going to stick an image in. Press I, draw out the box, like that. Oh, sorry. Right click on the box. So I want to get an image. I've chosen, so let's find, I think that one's nice. There we go. So I'll drop that in. Now, what you can see immediately is, well, I can only see the top right corner. So you need to come over to image properties. So you can see you've got the geometry where it is on the page. And then we want to scale it. And we keep scaling this. There we go. Okay. So there's our image. And I'm thinking, well, actually we're missing half the person. So I'm just going to pull this down until I'm happy that I've got, there we go, that'll do. Right. Now what I can do is, if I remember this rightly, if I do that, okay, so I'll now lock it to the frame size, like so. And you can start to actually scale up or down, add colour, transparency, as you want. So what happens when I've got this on? You start to see it's zooming. And it takes a bit of, it's not quite as intuitive as maybe you'd like. But there we go. So we've brought the image in and we can now partition it. You can see on the screen it's telling me where I am in relation to the middle of the page. So we'll try and get in the middle of the page. It'd be easier if I just went, shall I add a guide? Shall I add a guide for us? That'd be good, wouldn't it? So Scribus just crashed on me, which, you know, isn't a great advert for it, but it's free. So we'll just have to kind of move along. You can right click and you can show the page, and you can show, so we can show the page properties and so forth, where the margin guides are. What we're going to do is we're going to add some guides. So go down, right click on the page, manage guides, and that appears on another screen. Right. So we're going to add a horizontal at, we'll put 70mm. Add that. There we go. And then we're going to add another one vertically at 105. Okay. I'm going to apply to all pages. So let's add that, then apply to all. So now, if I do snap to guides, this image will want to take up a position on these guides. There we go. Good. Now we can do freescale, which means you set your frame size and then you zoom in on a particular page, so maybe you just want it to look like that. Or you do to frame size, where it will then show it as big in the frame as possible. I have used this quite a lot, just to perhaps zoom in on a character in an image, like that. Okay, so we can start to build our set of images. Now, we've only got one page in here, so let's, we want to add a page, so let's insert a page at the end, and we'll add 3 pages. There we go, so we've now got, let's go to page 2. Okay, we're going to insert another image, so we're going to insert one like that, I think. Get the image, so content, get image, and let's have a look through what we've got. What do I fancy? Oh yes, there we go, we'll insert that lady there. Okay, that's very Dado and Moriyama, isn't it? So let's zoom it out. Just keep it going till we get a crop we like. Okay, but I'm thinking that I might want to move it. So let's have a look. Let's just move it across in the frame. Oh no, gone too far. So let's just bring it back. There we go. So that could be our crop. Okay. And we can just bring the frame up. Okay. Now if I do that like that, let's see what happens when it won't, you see the frame now grows, but the image stays the same until we zoom it in and out. Alright, so it's important to remember that, because that can be frustrating. So we'll stick one more in. We'll do one like this. There we go. Right click, content, get the image. That man just there. There we go. Oh God. So let's fit this to this frame. Okay, that's good. So let's bring the frame up. So he's now filling the frame, and then we'll just bring him out to there. Okay, I just realised the guides aren't appearing, so I'm going to go to Manage Guides and apply all to all pages. And there we go, you can see the guides have appeared. So you can put lots of guides in if you've got particular thoughts. The last thing we'll do on this is just to add, let's add a colour. So let's insert a shape, default shapes. We'll have a square, something like that, right? So let's just do that. So we've gone outside. Right, so we've got the shape here. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at colour. We've got fill and we've got stroke. So you can do a custom colour. I'm not going to cover that in this because, to be perfectly honest, I can't remember exactly how you do it. We'll go with a warm black, and then we'll make the stroke. Let's make the stroke green for no obvious reason. Okay. And we'll just have a look at the line. I think we'll make the line a little bit wider. Okay. So we've gone over the edge of the page, but that's not a problem. We want to put this lower to the bottom. There we go. You've added some colour. It goes over the edge of the page. That's not a problem. But we now have effectively, and I'll just save this so we don't lose it. We now have a 2-page zine. Right, so let's see what it looks like. Nice and easy. File, export as PDF. Okay. All the pages, we're going to export it, open the PDF after, and you can just do each page as an individual PDF, and then you can choose your level. Sometimes printers will ask for PDFX, and I can't remember exactly what you need to do that, but you do need to make a couple of changes. Overall, you can embed any fonts you've used. If there's any particular, as it says, presentation effects you want, and so forth. So let's just do save. It'll now export that. Okay, let's do that at the moment. And that should be done. So we should, he says, confidently, if I go to find a window and go to documents and a list by, there we go. And if I go and grab it, bring it up, we have created a zine. And that's it. That's how you do your zine. Now, obviously, you know, we've rushed through it a bit and you might want to add text, but that's fine. I've shown you the very basics. And fundamentally, it's not that difficult. You just need to start. And once you start, that's fine. I mean, if people have questions, then in the comments, my first thing I would suggest is Google. And if you don't find it on Google, you can ask me. But if you don't find it on Google, I probably won't know. So, there we go. You've chosen images. You've used Scribus. Next, we'll talk about printing. So I'll cover that in the final episode of this. Thank you for watching. I hope you're finding this series enjoyable. And I'll catch you on the next one.